According to the CDC, colorectal cancer is the disease in which the cells in the colon or rectum grow out of control. The American Cancer Society says that more than 100,000 people will be diagnosed with colon cancer this year. But there's a new clinical trial at the University of Iowa hospitals that aims to change the way that doctors are treating colon cancer. And joining me now is Saima Sharif, Dr. Saima Sharif, that is, at the University of Iowa hospitals, to talk more about this clinical trial. Good morning, Dr. Sharif. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning, David. Thank you for having me.
So could you tell us a little bit about how this clinical trial came about and what have you learned?
So the background of this clinical trial is I see a lot of colon cancer patients. That is my area of expertise at the university. And I saw that patients with a certain mutations were doing very well on a certain type of treatment called immunotherapy. And usually for early stage colon cancer, the standard of treatment is surgical resection. When these patients eventually did go for surgical resection, there wasn't any cancer cells left. So that got me thinking about doing and studying this in a clinical trial, that do these patients need surgery or not? And this is the background and the basis of my clinical trial that I am doing at the university.
So how many people have been involved in this clinical trial so far, and are you still looking for people to be a part of it?
We have not started enrolling on this trial yet. This, as I mentioned, the standard of treatment is surgical resection. This protocol has been IRB approved and is ready to enroll patients this coming Monday. It will be a 25 patient trial. And to answer, I guess that answers your question, we have not started enrolling yet. We needed IRB approval, which is required, and FDA approval to start running this trial. And we are hoping to start enrollment on Monday.
That's exciting that this is going to be, that this is still very active, and you guys, of course, are hopeful that this will be successful, just like you saw in the early stages of your research. Talk about why something like this is important, specifically for people who have colon cancer.
So David, as you mentioned, this is a very common cancer. So after breast, prostate, and lung cancer, this is the most common cancer in the whole world, including the United States, including Iowa. So why this is important? When you look at colon cancer, given that this is very common, about 2/3 of patients will be diagnosed with early stage. So my trial is in early stage cancers. 1 in 5 patients who come in through the door will have this mutation. So that's a significant number of patients. And when you do surgical resection for these patients, they have to deal with lifelong bowel issues, which they adjust to because they know they've had the cancer surgery. But do they really need to do that? Do they need to really undergo surgical resection is the question. And if this trial is successful, this with some other data that is coming out from other institutions will be very helpful in changing the treatment paradigm, which is changing the standard treatment of these patients undergoing surgical resection. This is why I think this study is very, very important, because there is a significant amount of patients who can prevent or avoid surgical resection.
So explain who, maybe a viewer watching today has colon cancer early stage, who should be thinking about maybe speaking to their doctor about being a part of this, or seeing if they qualify a part of that, 25 people that you're looking for?
Very good question, David. So it is a specific mutation that we're looking for. So what patients who are listening should be talking to their doctors is that does their tumor have the marker or the mutation that would make them eligible for immunotherapy? I know it's a very technical term, which is MSI high or deficient MMR, but as long as patients know to ask their doctors, do I have the immunotherapy marker before their resection? Because it's usually, we do not see patients as an oncologist before their resection. I see them after they've been resected. So when their gastroenterologist does or their surgeon does their screening colonoscopy, and they find that they have a new diagnosis of colon cancer, it has not spread to any other parts outside the colon, like the liver or lung, they should be asking this question: if my tumor has this marker for immunotherapy, then they should be referred to the University of Iowa to be part of this clinical trial.
Okay. And you had mentioned that this particular clinical trial is looking at immunotherapies, and traditionally people would be undergoing a surgery. Talk about what is immunotherapy and how does this differ and how is it treated differently than, say, a surgery?
Immunotherapy is a new class of medications which stimulates a person's own immune system. So whenever we have an infection, there's cells in our body that recognize it as foreign, and it attacks it, and the infection goes away with a little bit of help of antibiotics. Sometimes we don't even need them. So this is what immunotherapy does. Cancer has a way of outsmarting the immune system in not recognizing that it is foreign. Therefore, the immune system does not attack it. So by giving immunotherapy, we remove the brakes that the cancer puts on our immune system in recognizing it as foreign, and makes our immune system, or our fighter T cells, as you can call them, recognize that cancer cells are abnormal, and they unleash the mechanism to try to kill these cancer cells. So this is a very smart way of attacking cancer cells, and in short, it is stimulating a patient's or cancer patient's immune system to attack the cancer cells.
And let's say the clinical trial goes successful, it's everything that you're hoping for. What is next? Where do you go from here from a clinical trial?
So David, this has been or is being studied in rectal cancer patients, and initial trials have shown a lot of success. This has been presented to the FDA for rectal cancer trial patients, and they are looking into approving this treatment of non-surgical therapy in patients with rectal cancer patients with this trial. So my hope is that this trial that we are running, this is only available at the University of Iowa, the one that I'm running, will be a step closer in providing more data to the FDA that giving this kind of therapy to colon cancer patients is another step forward in avoiding and them approving avoiding surgical resection in this subset of patients.
All right, Dr. Sharif with University of Iowa Hospitals, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thank you so much, David, for this opportunity. This is the Colon Cancer Awareness Month, and this is a great opportunity to be able to speak directly to Iowans and tell them about this opportunity available for them at the university.
Absolutely.